Welcome, everyone. I am super excited because today I am joined by one of my lifetime friends, mentors, and someone that I've learned a lot from as a coach. My friend Richard Van Meerbeek. This is the English way to say it, or Richard Van Meerbeek. Welcome,
Or Richard
Richard
Van
Van
Meerbeek
Meerbeek, in the
in
French way.
French.
So there's all depends on the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here. It's a real pleasure to have you. The reason I got you here today is because I'm at that point in my coaching career where, of course, over the course, so I'll take it a little bit of step back. I want to introduce it. So back in around 2013, I joined Richard's gym, which was the best gym in Europe, I would say, in Belgium for sure, Europe for sure, best CrossFit
Wow.
gym
Okay.
in
Thanks.
the area. And
Yeah.
I had the privilege of
Yeah.
working there and being exposed to the best in the field. I learned so much there. Then I went my own way. And throughout my course, I always thought back to what you've told me. And I'd be like, oh my God, Richard told me this. But I didn't know it at the time. And I had to figure it out myself. And I would have, oh my God, yeah, he was right. He was right. So, yeah, now it's almost more than 10 years later and we meet again. And so I wanted to just talk to you about high performance.
Full circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's go back to the beginning. Tell me a little bit about your background. High performance runs in your family. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that?
You. I don't. I guess you can call it high performance, but I would say definitely sports and the athletic field has been an integrated part of the family history on my father's side. So yeah, it goes back to my grandfather, who's been in the Air Force, the Belgian Air Force, but before that he was doing track and field, mid distance running, had some Belgian records, was playing a lot of badminton. I think he won 12 or 13 national championships there,
Wow.
which got him involved in the Olympics as as a delegate general or a vice president of the Olympic Committee. So you're looking at someone who's been to at least 12, 11, 11 Olympic Games.
Wow.
Let's put it like that, because that's more than 40 years. So he's been involved in that whole realm. And then you have my father, who grew up playing football or soccer for the American listeners. I hope you have.
Yeah.
But so with the football, he played that semi-professionally and then professionally until his late teen years. So he was actually good, very young. Um, at the same time, got interested in golf, and being competitive in the family, he also pursued some competitive years there. But it was pretty clear that from the beginning, the talent and the passion was in the coaching, bringing bringing other individuals to the highest level, no matter from which level they were starting. So that, because the highest level is all relative, of course. We speak about top athletes, but the everyday person can also reach their highest level within their potential. So that's always been a passion in the family, and then that trickled down to me, where I also delved in golf growing up. Got involved in national championships also when I was 14. Um, Went on to more physical sports, because I don't know, as a young boy, you wanted to do something maybe more with more testosterone.
Absolutely.
Let's put it that way. That was a while ago. That was more than 20 years ago. So fighting sports, learned a lot there, and then naturally myself, even though I was getting to physical preparation, discovered CrossFit. From there, went a little deeper in preparation. But my passion, even though I was competitive as an athlete, I was always passionate about the coaching aspect of things, and seeing what I could achieve there, and enlighten people with, to help them perform better. So, yeah, it's been a family journey, and the passion is always there, to this day.
I
Yeah.
love that. And when did you know that you wanted to be a coach?
That's an interesting question. I would say right around the time where I was finishing my studies, because I did some pretty serious academic studies, which had nothing to do with sports. So I was always interested in. I always thinking, you know what, sports is my passion, but I feel like I need to have something tangible, like a diploma. I was very very old school in that sense. I was thinking, okay, you know what, I need to have some kind of degree, so that I feel more safe. If I would take a risk, I could fall back on something tangible, let's say. So it's almost like I wanted to have a safety net there unconsciously. And yeah, the first reflex is like during my college years, because I was doing business studies. I was doing a lot of CrossFit back then, competing pretty intensely. I achieved some nice things there, and it's during those competition years. So that's right around 2009, 2010. I was ending my study 2011, my master's degree, and yeah, the conservative me was thinking, you know what? Let me go get a corporate job, save some money for a few years, because at that point I was thinking, you know what? I want to be able to have my own gym, do my own thing, but I need to save some money for that first, and go into the more conventional way of getting a 9 to 5 job to save money, blah blah blah. I quickly realized that was not going to happen. If I wanted to do that, I should better just dive in head first and just give myself a year at least to see how far I can get, how close I can get to opening a gym, to then just go for it. And if after within a year I see that life is not for me, because I was like, you know what, for a year just go into coaching, and see how it feels, and if it's really a fit, you're just going to go all the way. And so that's what I did right after my studies, against all expectations in my family, because yeah, they were expecting you to do to go into business consulting or something like that, and then you just start training people every day for a year. So yeah, some some concerns on my mother's side, and uh, a silent and content understanding from my father's side, because he's like, yeah, that's running in his blood, so that's probably where he's gonna end up. And so that's how I did end up, back in 2011, to begin with.
Wow. Okay. So I want to take a step back and go back to the moment where Richard, as a student,
Yep.
uh, I assume that you were, involved in martial arts, maybe in university. Was that the case?
Yeah. So at the end of high school, it's actually pretty funny. I mean, it's funny now, but back then, I think when I got 15, I got jumped. I mean, I got assaulted, in the street.
Okay.
So I got beat up. Uh, I took my wallet and everything, and as a 15-year-old in Belgium, it's quite common from a very young age to go in the city center, stay out in the evening. You can drink alcohol when you're 16 with no problem. So that was the early days of that. But so yeah, first real physical altercation happened at that time, and was definitely an eye opener, because I realized I never learned how to defend myself or how to deal with head-on violence, by surprise. So directly, yeah, spoke about it with my father, who was naturally pissed off, and tried to find those guys in the night, but that did not happen. But so yeah, that's how I started. Right around 16 years old, was looking for, yeah, didn't know anything about martial arts, and we found something which was a mix of kickboxing and judo. It's called Tai Jitsu. So I was learning up some stand up. I was learning some judo throws, and it seemed like a good mix back in the days. But so naturally, you train in that twice a week, and then I start to do other stuff on the side to get in better shape for it. And within less than a year, I was already looking to compete,
Wow.
basically, to get into the feeling of that sport. Because yeah, once you train for that, it's not like you're going to get into fights in everyday life, because now you're more prepared, you're more knowledgeable of how it goes. You avoid those situations, because that's the goal in any fighting sports, is to avoid uh, those situations and just go for it if it's inevitable. And then it never happened again. So that's why the only way was to get into sanctioned fights. And so I did two of those, had a blast. Won my first fight, lost my second fight in decision. That was in Sanda, it's called. So it was same type of deal, stand-up fighting and then projection. And yeah, quickly realized that if I want to go further there, you basically have to want to go in a career there, because I realized I could break my nose, have my whole face remodeled, and that was not my ambition. I really liked it, but that's what brought me to the physical preparation of things, because I really enjoyed how I had to prepare for that kind of sport and training. And that's where I really, yeah, when I was right around 18 years old, really started focusing a lot on training. So the physical preparation aspect of things. So that was right around 2005. Went to university 2006, and it's as I started, my university studies. That's right around the time where I discovered CrossFit. So around 2007, which basically tied in all the ways I was trying to train in. It tied it all together, and that's where the deep journey began and brought me really in many different places.
Tell me, I remember moments where you would share about your early days of training, where you would go outside and run, right?
Yeah. So I mean, when you think about it, 2007. Yeah, 2007 was not the time where CrossFit was really mainstream. It's crazy when I look at it now. Yeah, it's 18 years ago. So that's crazy. But back then, yeah, it was starting. The hype was starting in the US, but in Europe it was completely absent. So you did not have any CrossFit gym or any kind of functional type training space or box or anything. So yeah, you had to go into normal spaces and make it work, like anyone must have done in the beginning in global gyms. So I was doing that, getting into some arguments sometimes to share stations, but then I figured out that I could just do much more by myself outdoors. So I was very big on training outdoors. Just was trying to buy equipment little by little, and get into training protocols that you can easily do outside. And so yeah, one of my favorite ones involved a lot of running mixed with squatting. So that's the Livitnov approach. And so yeah, I was basically looking to get something heavy to pick up and down 8 times, and then run a 400-meter full blast, having a full recovery there and repeating it. And so that became a staple of my training back then. And honestly, looking back at it, I mean, you're not going to go wrong if you're able to lift something, medium heavy or at 70% of your capabilities for 8 reps, and then go for a full blown run. And then it's funny because you base yourself on one little training protocol, and then you can just deploy it. You know what? Oh, I'm going to reduce the rest. I'm going to increase the distance. Oh yeah. Oh wow, it's having a different effect. And so yeah, that was the early days, but that really yeah made me more and more interested in how you can tweak things for different goals from something standard that I really just found through my own research online on obscure forums that you could find on the internet back in the days, because that's also it's not the same
Yeah.
resources. It's not comparable with today. So yeah.
What could you walk me through the first time you found CrossFit? Because that I'm actually really curious about how you found out about it. Was it
Yeah, I remember very well. I was coming from I was just coming out of that
martial
that
arts?
fighting martial arts training, and I was just focused on the training aspect, and following a lot of fighting, mixed martial arts, online, UFC, Pride was huge back then from Japan. So yeah, back then you had to buy DVDs to really be able to see the whole fight. So I have all that footage all that content that I was watching, and I was really following some fighters, and one of them back in the days was BG Penn, which was a UFC champion from Hawaii, and in some video randomly I saw him do a ring muscle up, and he was with Greg Glassman, so the founder of
Oh, no
CrossFit.
way! I didn't know that.
And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, wow, this UFC guy is doing something I never heard about. It's called CrossFit. Uh, and so that's why I just typed CrossFit on Google, landed on CrossFit.com, and there you had the workout of the day. So, and I have to praise the CrossFit website back then, because as far as 2007, you had that workout coming out every day for 3 days, 1 day rest, and you had a huge library of videos on their fundamental movements, on some workout demonstrations or whatever events they did. And so I I went deep, very deep in the rabbit hole for, I don't know, 7 days straight, probably, like, try to digest everything I was seeing, and I was like, oh my god, but there's a whole realm that I did not realize, like, oh, you can do gymnastics movements, you can do weightlifting, you can do powerlifting, you can run, you can row. So yeah, that was a big moment for me, because it also felt like, oh wow, I just discovered something that nobody knows about in my country.
That's so.
What is
That must have
this?
been so cool.
And so that's how it began. Again, in a world where, not all information was just constantly being pushed and fed to you. There was no AI to know what you're interested in. So that was the very nice surprise, but it happened randomly following UFC
Wow,
fighters. Yeah,
awesome. Okay, so you competed in. Okay, so when was the first CrossFit Games in the ranch? Do you remember? Was that 2008? Oh,
2007.
2007.
No, that was 2007 even.
Okay, even, yeah.
OPT,
Yeah,
James Fitzgerald
he won
won
that
back
one,
then.
right? Then 2008
Yeah,
was.
and so that was right around the time. Yeah, right around the time when I discovered it, and I saw, oh wow, they did the first championship. Okay, and then so it continued. 2008, like you say, still in the ranch. 2000, and so after following closely that competition online, because I really wanted to go to the US to attend and to watch it, because you want to be in contact with the sport, because you have to remember there's no CrossFit box
Oh,
anywhere
still. Yeah.
close to me. So, yeah, I ended up finding a way to compete, because there was back then the European Championship, which now you could compare to the semifinals, they call it now in CrossFit, or the regionals from a couple of years back. Well, the European regionals used to be simply registration registration based, so you could just sign up back then in 2009 to compete in the European Championships. And so if you see how difficult it is now to just qualify to those competitions, back then you would just sign up, and we were maybe 15 people, 15 guys in Northern Ireland to compete to go to the CrossFit Games. So that was really, really funny.
Which year was this?
And that's how 2009.
2009. That was your
So
first time.
2009, Northern Ireland, not far from Belfast, if I remember correctly. But so yeah, so that's where Mikko Salo appeared on the CrossFit
He was
map,
already a champion, or
and
that's
that's
when he won?
how. No,
That
no,
was the
no.
year.
He was
He was
discovered.
just.
So we all discovered him in that
Mhm.
competition. So you can imagine workout number one. I'm in my heat with Mikko Salo. The workout is Helen, so 400-meter run, the 21 swings and 12 pull-ups for 3 rounds. And me coming from that Livetnov background, I start guns blazing. I'm not even thinking about doing 3 rounds. So I run my first 400-meter in like 1 minute 03 or something, and then it was over. I almost died in that third round. But so yeah, there we saw that guy. My father was there because he's being passionate about sports. He was of course there for my first competition. And after that first workout, he looked at me. He was like, "I don't know much about this CrossFit thing, but I'm pretty sure that there's not many guys like this guy right here. So let's see what he does. But to me, I think we have like one of the best guys in the world here in CrossFit. And he won that year later on. So that was, my father saw it like directly.
Man,
It was crazy.
that's
Super
insane.
funny.
Wow. Wow, my God, so many good memories to the early days of CrossFit. So okay,
Man.
yeah, man, so many good memories. Yeah, so you were also,
Could go on and
yeah,
on, huh? But I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Let's because
There's probably topics you want
yeah,
to cover,
exactly.
but yeah,
Yeah,
CrossFit could just go
man,
on and
that
on.
could be a separate podcast in itself. So okay, so you're
Yeah.
exposed to this as a you you eventually you partner up with someone, you start your own gym, your own box, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I started, like I said, I graduated 2011. Gave myself a year
To give this coaching a
to just
shot.
see
Yeah.
how I can get those, or how I can sharpen those skills, and see if I can really, how good I feel in that role. Because you sometimes you think about it, oh yeah, I want to do that, but you get going, and then you realize it's not a good fit for you. And so I started to coach directly after graduating. I think 1 month later, I got a spot in one of the first CrossFit gyms in Belgium back in the days. It was in Brussels. I coached there, and very quickly, so I was training as an athlete, coaching classes, and because it was so sensational back in the days to do anything related to CrossFit, you directly had the athletic world in Belgium that was gravitating towards those CrossFit, obscure places, to know like, okay, these guys, they seem to be doing something new. And yeah, in sports, the new stuff is always a bit interesting because you want to know what it's about, right? And so that's why pretty quickly, within months, I started to do, some personal training. I had having people one-on-one with very specific goals. From the everyday people, I started to have like some guys saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to get into the special forces. I'm a soldier. I want to prepare for that. These are you know, the requirements. Can you help me?" And then I said, "Okay, let's make a plan. We go with that." And then from here and there, you start to get some, like some a good reputation, because people get results and they're fascinated. And that's where very quickly in 2011 I started to get involved on the golfing side,
Mm.
because my father's been a golf professional since 1987. So that's a while now, almost 40 years. And he was coaching some very good professionals, with one of them having a lot of potential. That was Nicholas Golsarts.
Mhm.
He was one of the youngest guys to get on the European tour. I think he was 18 years old, and he got on. So he was 18 years old, and he got his European tour membership in 2001, I believe. And so he went through his journey, ups and downs. Lost his card, got it back, and we were then at a moment in 2011 where he got back on the European tour, was playing relatively good, better and better, and was committed. And that was after many discussions, I imagine, with my father, was the head coach, committed to get to a higher level in that sport. And so, of course, you can have all the talent you want. It's going to bring you, if you're very lucky, it's going to bring you to the top, but you cannot maintain that without a good work ethic and a good strategy to either stay at the top or keep competing, in that top region. But if you're in the middle range, you're gonna have to do something to be able to multiply uh, that performance. And so, great timing, 2011. They realized that that guy is not in the best shape. And when you were thinking about golf back then, okay, you had Tiger Woods, who blew up the scene since 1997. Winning the Masters, having a reign of 10 years that was insane, and which brought golfers to think, okay, this guy's in shape, in athletic shape, looks like an athlete. hits it further than all of us, can play more tournaments at a higher level than all of us. Maybe it's time that we look at physical preparation, or strength and conditioning, or bodybuilding. Even they didn't know what to do, but they had to do something. And so that's how that came. That came in my world. We discussed, and I just, I gave my opinion, my impression on how I would approach this, and we tried it out. And so it's a bit of luck too, because of course you get a I would say a rough diamond presented to you, who is committed to putting in the work, but who only wants to put in the work with someone they can trust, which was me, because I mean I grew up knowing that guy. He's basically like family, and so it was in a continuity of a within the family approach, which allowed me to really basically experiment with him and being committed to a route that would actually fit him perfectly, and deliver the results that we never expected we would get. And so that allowed me to develop an approach in line with my philosophy for those high level athletes, which then translated to athletes from other sports coming to ask for help, and it's been a great journey, because I've trained. I mean, I've been alongside some of these guys for, I mean, that was 2011, so yeah, for 10 years, up to 10 years sometimes, so that means something is working. So yeah, that's
Okay, so there's a lot to dive into here, and I want to take a step back because as a coach, did you feel look because at back in that day, because I don't know much about golf, but I'm very interested. I'm becoming very interested in the sport. Is that people
yeah.
were feared that if you would get too big or if you'd use weights, it would compromise your swing. So did you have any fear of
there's
messing?
there's a lot of
Yeah.
stereotypes. Yeah,
Did you have any fear as a coach
yeah.
of
There,
messing up this athlete, this golfer?
I mean, the fear is warranted. Huh? I mean, I understand, because if you get into it the wrong way, of course you're gonna mess up something, because yeah, a golfer, you have to imagine, it's when they're at a top professional level. It's people that have been playing golf since they're 6 years old. I don't know, 8 years old, 12 years old maximum. So they've been doing that same movement or version of that movement, almost every day of their life, for since they're a kid. So all those angles are ingrained in those people. So of course, you can think, well, if I exaggerate in one direction, what is going to happen? But of course, I think the right approach is to be able to discuss it, not only with the golfer, but also to discuss it with their swing coach. It was, I mean, certainly back then, if you don't have the buy-in or the support from whoever their golf coach is, you're not going to be able to free ride and free ball whatever you're doing. So you need to be able to work in collaboration uh, with the swing coach, because it's a golfer. So a golfer, I mean, you would take a football player, whatever you want to try to do with that player, you should sync probably with the coach, the head coach, or the whatever coach you have in the team. But you're not going to just come up with something with him. I mean, that's how I would come about. And so here the thing is, the big advantage I had is that I was a golfer. I grew up playing golf myself, so it gives you a very specific understanding of the requirements, because you can observe golfers, look at the sport, and you can come up with an approach which actually is not going to help the golfer at all. And so I'm gonna give you an
Yeah.
example. The typical approach that we were seeing up to that point, so that was in 2007, people would think, okay, you know what? I see a lot of rotations with a club and hitting. You know what? So let's start to do a lot of pulleys. Like they would take the whole stack of plates and start pulling. And doing things that were actually messing up with the movement, like with the swing. And like the golf swing, I mean, that's holy. That should not be, in my opinion, that should not be our territory when we talk about preparation. And so I was seeing many guys making the mistake of using, the swing movement, adding weight to that, and having the guys starting to pump reps, turning with heavy weights and stuff like that. And then of course they take the club afterwards, and everything is just messed up. And so that was the wrong way to go about it, in my opinion. So, and I think you can probably replicate that for any sports, where you try to take the movement, especially when we're talking about very technical movements. It's as if you would take a tennis player and start to put weights, pulling back on his racket.
Yeah,
I don't know,
racket.
and yeah, and so that's dangerous. But understanding golf, to me, it was very simple, because Tiger Woods was the standard, and Tiger Woods was just very athletic. The guy ran, the guy lifted weights, and it just made him the fittest, and most in shape golfer on the circuit. And so we quickly understood then in the team that, okay, you travel for like 27 tournaments in the year, all over the world, going to different time zones, etc. It takes a toll on the body, and so if you're someone who just plays golf but doesn't do anything outside of that, I mean, yeah, you can only rely on your level of preparedness and fitness. And so when you get into different time zones and getting tired, if you do nothing, and we compare it to someone in the same situation, we'll have a little routine, do a little cardio workout when he arrives somewhere, at the hotel, does some mobility, has a routine of lifting some weights. He's gonna be, of course, in a better overall shape and be able to absorb, some of the impact, some of the fatigue, in a better way than someone who does nothing. And so, conclusion there was simply to get this guy in better shape. So we started a protocol, a very straightforward strength protocol, because let's be honest, I mean, if you don't do any strength work, unless you come from an amazing genetic, you're going to be weak by general standards. So my goal was simply to get the strength levels up, while always keeping a focus on the mobility, of the individual, because of course golf is a sport where you have to be able, especially if you someone who hits far, to stay relaxed, in your swing, having the right range of motion. So the goal was to never compromise range of motion, for other purposes in the preparation. So mobility work, strength work, and just being very strong when it comes to midline and core. Um, and that alone was a very simple focus and recipe. There was nothing complicated, just to get him better as an athlete, as a person, as an individual. And that was the whole conclusion. We're not going to try to do strange things correlated to the swing movement. We just want to get that guy in better shape in a safe way, in an optimal way, and it's going to be beneficial. And of course, we directly saw that the guy could play a tournament, feel fresh, after 72 holes, fresh the next week, and just keep a much higher level, of focus, because basically everything he was doing was costing less energy. And so I was all about, okay, you know what? Let's get our energy reserve so high that you're always going to have something to tap into. Um, and that was the whole thing. So for anyone looking at golf, I mean, now of course now you have so many resources. At the end of the day, you have to keep things simple, and you have to be incredibly, good at the basics. And that's been a staple in my career, in my father's career also. We don't complicate things. We look at the basic principles, basic standards, and we want to excel at them. And by being, incredibly performant in the basics, you leave all the complexity and the highly technical aspects to the sport specific, elements. But when it comes to physical preparation, you got to keep it simple. you cannot go wrong with mastering the basics. So it's is it Bruce Lee who said that once? That you should fear more the person who does the same kick 1,000 times than the guy who can do 1,000 different kicks,
Absolutely.
one
Yeah.
time. So that's the whole. That was the
Wow,
motto.
that's very impressive because I know that as a coach, you want to prove yourself and you want to showcase to people what you know and you want to impress people. But
Yeah.
for you to have the discipline to take a step back and be very um, to the point and give them exactly what he needs from a GPP perspective, that's very impressive. Actually, it shows your
Yeah.
maturity as a coach. Even
Yeah, because you have to understand. So the let's put it this way. If I think about it now, the the margin of progression for a golfer, I mean, it's if you look at the numbers, it's a couple shots on a tournament can bump you from, I don't know, 50th place to 10th place, for example. Like the guy who wins out of 72 holes, he's going to do maybe, I don't know, 270 shots. If you do 275 shots, it's just five more shots. It's nothing. With those 5 shots, you may be 50 spots behind, and it's a super small margin. And so that's why for a golfer, I mean, yeah, of course, the how can you measure the progress? You're going to measure the progress. Okay, I can hit it a bit further. Okay, I do less putts per round. So these are all aspects of the game. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be all about the ranking, So and that's you're gonna have to limit the mistakes they do, and so that's why to me those small differences, yeah, can easily be solved if you can be more focused, more in the moment throughout those tournaments. But on the other hand, if you take a golfer and you bring him into um, um, yeah, an environment, so which is strength and conditioning, where they can actually make huge progress. We're not talking about small margins here. Like a guy who comes from just squatting an empty barbell, and then after 6 months he feels as comfortable, but squatting 60 kilos, for example. I mean, you just brought him into a whole different world, and that's what's very empowering. Especially for golfers, because if you start, my favorite situation is if you start from scratch. And you see that with anybody, yeah. Someone who comes to you, if you're lucky, is there. They never done any sports, so what? Everything you do is going to be. I mean, it's going to be measurable, and your metrics are always going to be insane. Like, oh wow, I'm I'm 200% better than 2 months ago. What's going on? And well, for a golfer, it's the same thing. They fight every week for super small margins, but then you bring them into a training where, wow, I'm actually getting so much better here. So this is also a mental boost because it's empowering. You're like, oh wow, I can get stronger. Oh wow, I can do a pull up now. I never did a pull up in my life. I can row. I mean, I was dead on the rower. 3 months ago. Now I can row 2K in 7.5 minutes. So those are the things where you also have to look at what is the impact going to be. The positive impact mentally for my athlete. And so, yeah, you just need to make sure your things are measurable. And so anything that's a bit shiny and super, like visually, like, oh, wow, they're doing all kinds of balancing acts. If that works for you, that's great. But always make sure you're dealing with something measurable. You need to be able to quantify the progress, because that's what's really going to motivate you at the end of the day. Because if you do the same thing every week and you're never able to measure how better if you're getting stronger, faster, I don't know, you need something, because that's what's really going to put the money in the mental bank.
I
So
love that.
so
I
yeah.
love that. A couple of like big takeaways from this is not only keeping the athlete healthy, but having that opportunity to give him tangible progress that he couldn't get in his golf game necessarily as much because the margin for error is so small, and that helping with the mental side of it, and empowering him as a golfer, which is amazing.
Yeah, I know it's the perfect example because yeah, you're coming from a sport where physical training was completely absent since forever. And I remember also when I was saying back in the days that I'm training golf, I was like, what? Why is it even a sport? Why are they doing that? So yeah, you end up in debates where you have to explain why it's a sport or why it's necessary. So I don't waste my time with
Yeah,
that. But it's now it's completely part of the
yeah,
sport. I mean, you look at guys. I mean, you look at Rory
right.
McIlroy. I mean, that guy, I've seen him he does power
Yeah,
cleans, in training and so on. You look at Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, doing amazing strength and conditioning. And I was lucky enough then when you train. I mean, when you train those good guys, you end up training in the same facilities, because we were traveling, from one location to another. So you end up with the other coaches, you see the other players training. And in my era, yeah, back then I was seeing other players training in the way that we don't abide by with pulleys and stuff, and they were seeing us doing all kinds of other things, like doing squats, sumo deadlift work, Turkish get-ups, all kinds of things. We're like, what in the hell? Like, is he gonna break him? I mean, I knew where the limits were, so I was always keeping that in the right range, and yeah, the results were there. So when the results speak for themselves, and people start asking you questions, yeah, why do you do it like this? And so yeah, that was the golden age for that, like from 2011, 12, 13. It was crazy.
that's insane. So yeah, I wanted to ask you actually about if there was any moments where, because of course you're training your athlete and then you're probably warming the athlete up before he's going to play, so you're going to be surrounded by other golfers and golf coaches, and for them to see what you were doing with the athlete must have been interesting.
Yeah, that was very
Yeah,
warm up wise. That was very. We kept it
simple.
very
Yeah.
very basic, but it helped. It helped, of course. You just do some activation with bands, some good mornings, some squats, some leg swings, hip opening. Really, the basic effective things, and that's it. Because most of the time they did not really warm up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah. But the main thing was we would also do like a little cool down workout after the 18 holes,
the
after the
recovery
competition
parts.
day, and so that also helped because it kept you in a mode. And because a tournament is from Thursday to Sunday, uh, but we would get to the location on Monday, so we would start by doing a first flush, on Monday night, and then with the tournament starting on Thursday, my only window to really have a nice full training was on the Tuesday, because then on Wednesday we would do something lighter again, but the main goal was to always stay in a mentality of, okay, we're going to play golf, we're going to do this, and then you had like structure in your day instead of just being there like and just having golf and nothing else. So that structure also helped, to stay focused, and you stay in a mode where you're just focusing on your performance, on different aspects, because it's such a mental game. In the end, you can never underestimate the benefits of really being in a good mental space for all those things. But yeah, it's no, looking back, it was some of the most amazing
Wow.
experiences, to travel
Yeah.
travel around and being, and yeah, even being in tournaments in the US where Tiger Woods is there also, and then you have that aura of that guy, and everybody freaking out and shaking, me included. So it's no,
Wow.
it's really cool.
Amazing.
It's really cool.
That
I think yeah,
that
you would be an ideal person for
Oh
that, I
yes,
think.
man. This is
So
something I'm really curious in, because what I really love now about golf is that the demand, what the athlete wants, is very measurable. It's increases in range of motion, and now with the technology of ass- now TPI is assessing vertical jump, which is
yep.
right, like
Yeah, that's all.
insane.
I remember the early days of
Yeah.
TPI, so that's I was in discussion with those guys because so the TPI guys, they follow each tournament, like they have, because they have physios, available and
Even back
present,
then?
training some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Titleist was big time,
Mm,
but yeah, now it's the course and the content
evolved.
is incredible, incredibly deep now. But back then it was the early days of it. I was discussing with them, and it was nice because I was in a position where, okay, I found my recipe, and we were actually aligned in on many different aspects. But I'm talking about, yeah, 2012, so that's 13
Hmm.
years ago. But I just kept in my route because, yeah, I was also I was training as an athlete myself, and my gym and everything. But yeah, looking back, it could have been a possibility to be like, you know what, guys, let me go full blown in TPI with you guys, or hey, let me find a way to just stay on the circuit, and do that with more people. But
Yeah.
we I was very happy with the players that I can call friends now, also, that I was working with. And I just had, yeah, also other aspirations on the
Hmm.
side. I
Hmm.
was training field hockey players as well. So it's you do a bit of everything,
Hmm.
and you realize that it's transferable.
Hmm.
Um, so
Okay.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's so much. Just to finish this podcast, because I know you're running short on time. Is I wanted to ask. I
Yeah,
wanted to ask about.
I got 10 more
Okay. Yeah.
minutes
10 minutes.
normally.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to ask about how, because when I was working with you and training with you, conjugates, Westside Barbell played a major role
Yeah.
in your, aligned very well with your training philosophy. Could you explain how that shaped you as a coach, or how that helped you approach your athletes?
Yeah, it was very interesting, because I discovered Westside Barbell, in 2013, was it? Yeah, between 2012 2013. And it was very interesting to me because, I mean, you see Louis Simmons. It was that guy, that small, stocky, powerlifter guy, speaking super fast with tattoos everywhere, very very intimidating, training monsters in powerlifting. Um, but then digging a little deeper, I realized, okay, he's training sprinters, football players, baseball players, fighters. And I was thinking, okay, if there must be a reason that all these guys go to him. And so that's when I really got interested in the methodology and the approach. And I found it super interesting, again, because he was using a lot of, the approach was, again, very very measurable. He was using speed factors as well, which was very interesting to me and new to me, because the reference to me was always, yeah, weights, percentages of weight on the bar. But then you had a guy that was also busy with a speed method, and making sure that you were accelerating at the right rate. And so that was something where I thought, okay, there's maybe something there, because I could see how transferable it was for my athletes, because I was the whole plyometrics explosiveness component was probably missing a bit at that time in my approach, and also the approach that I had with my athletes. And so I went full on. I went to the US. I visited Westside Barbell, followed some courses with Shane Sweat and Laura Phelps, and it was a match. It was a perfect match, directly, because it really opened my eyes on how to even better approach training for athletes, because something as simple and as basic as your stance, that was an eye opener, because you could go by the book. I mean, back in the days, squatting was always, your feet are shoulder width, toes pointing forward, go to 90 degrees, and go back up. I mean, we're all built different. You don't have the same morphology. You don't have the same, yeah, possibilities, basically, movement wise. And you're not always going to have the same needs. But in sports, especially if you look at I don't know, team sports, for example, where where a lot of lateral movement is involved. I mean, you look at football, you look at tennis, anything really. I mean, when are you going to be static with your feet shoulder width? That's not going to happen. You're going to have to. I mean, your feet it's going to go wider at some point. So you need to have good hip mobility and resources to have some strength and power from those wide stances. So all of a sudden, I was like, okay, you know what? We need to implement. I mean, we don't need to do everything wide, but we're going to have to work wide every week, no matter what. And the benefits, yeah, the benefits were huge then, because you realize if you take a guy from a from a narrow stance to a wide stance and all of a sudden they cannot do anything, yeah, we have a problem, because you pinpoint a weakness then in the chain. And so that's what brought us to using box squats more. Box squats made it much easier and safer to train groups then. When it was teams, when I was training hockey teams or volleyball teams, I could ensure that everybody was squatting at the right depth. you know Stance was in place. Depth was never not an issue anymore, because everybody was going at the right depth, no matter what. And we could just focus on very specific points, which was speed then, off the box, and working in a harmonized way. So that was, yeah, that already had huge benefits. And benefit number two had to do with all the sled work, because I was always a fan of sled pushing, sled pulling, and so on. But then what Louis brought to the table was sled walks. So basically, just attaching a sled to your waist and walking with it for for extended period of times, digging in the heels to really focus on the posterior chain, because the posterior chain, that was like the holy grail then, for me, and it still is like the most important thing for me with an athlete. But what was interesting to me was always to find the optimal way to bring the athlete to work hard with the lowest risk to reward ratio. Like that we could push hard in the gym on movements where we have the lowest risk possible of getting injured. Because you cannot have your guys doing 1 rep max snatches, to measure their progress. You can do some snatch work, that's fine, but if you really want a guy to go full on max effort, you're gonna have to really be selective in what you do. And the sled was 100% the right thing to do, because we could just walk, have that posterior chain get fired up, and again see how much distance we were covering in a certain amount of time, or just do a certain distance and measure the time. And that was actually, yeah, lower impact than running, because you
Mm-hmm.
cannot ask you guys to sprint all the time, of course, but it was tapping into the same energy systems. So and I see very few people today really doing the sled walk in the fashion that Louis brought it on in the
Mm-hmm.
industry, because you see guy pushing heavy
Yeah.
sleds.
Or walking backwards.
He's pushing sleds like in high rock style, where you just push a sled. Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's that's one way. That's one thing, but you're not tapping optimally in the posterior chain.
Mm.
You can do, but yeah, you can walk backwards. That's great for knee maintenance and everything. But if we're talking posterior chain, you have to walk.
Mm-hmm.
You just walk forward and digging in the
Yeah.
heels, and that's been amazing for my hockey guys, amazing for my golfers. It just brought something that was untapped with any other exercise we were doing.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So eventually, last 2 minutes, I just wanted to close
Yeah.
up. What do you think? Of course, now you've pivoted into the corporate world, right? You've been doing that for the last 7 years, I think.
No, a bit
Less?
less.
Okay. Feels
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So yeah, it's basically COVID happened. COVID
Oh,
happened in the
yes.
meantime, and that was a big shift in my career, because I had to close my gym for almost 2 years. From 2020 to 2022. It coincided with the birth of my first child, and that was my daughter. And so yeah, you're in a situation where you have no income to sustain your family needs, and that's where actually my studies came into play. Like, way
Mm,
way after, more than 10 years after, I was like, oh wow, okay, you know what, I can put that degree to use now. So let's see what happens. And so yeah, so that's how I started in the IT world, and yeah, and so found I noticed some similarities in terms of high performance in the corporate world when I was talking to different executives in my job, because I have a commercial job, so I get to meet executives from many different companies, but also within the companies I worked for. I could see it with our CEO or C-level guys. So it's yeah, there's parallels to make there,
Hmm.
and I think that's something that you've been also involved
Yeah.
with. But yeah, high performing people. You can also think, okay, why the hell does a CEO or a director need to focus on his fitness now all of a sudden, or get stronger, get fitter? Well, just like athletes, if you work in a multinational, those guys travel multiple times a month, sometimes every week, long haul flights even. I mean, it doesn't matter if you can do Zoom meetings or Teams meetings. I mean, real business happens face to face with people. Huh? So these guys are on the move all the time, high pressure situations, heavy workload. And to me, I saw a clear parallel, okay, with high level athletes, but also with with my golf guys, because I was also dealing with people who, okay, they have metrics in their business, but what about your personal metrics? Like as an individual, and that's when those guys, many of those guys today, I can see they're all involved in something. Oh wait, I have an Ironman coming up. Like, oh, I have this competition coming up. So they're all. I think it's all clear for many of them now that it's important to treat themselves as athletes or high performing athletes, because that's basically what they are, but in a different realm.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's very, very, yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. And I think something that we probably see now in the industry also, more and more, that kind of interest, because I go in meetings now, I see guys, oh wow, half the people are wearing a Whoop now here. Okay, that's different from
Hmm.
before. So people are starting to look at, and you can speak about heart rate variability with those people now, and they know what you're talking about. So that's it's interesting. It's an interesting time, I think, for yeah, for fitness and strength training in general. Uh, but I think, yeah, the main thing is really to choose, or to clearly pinpoint your philosophy, your principles on how you want to approach training, uh, or certain aspects of training, and really be able to drive that forward, and have a measurable way of drive it forward with your athletes, with your clients. It's so easy to get distracted,
Hmm.
because there's always something new, but you have to really look at, yeah, the ROI, yeah, so the return on investment. Like, yeah, where do they get the most return by, you put your energy in something, but where am I going to get the best return for my personal energy investment? And yeah, that's something that all of us have to detect and develop, day in, day out.
Yeah, absolutely. Love this closing thought for this podcast. Thank you so much for your time, Richard. Really appreciate it. And if you're up to it, I would love to do another one because there's so much to dive into. So many stories.
Yeah, I mean,
If you're open.
I don't know how much I talk, but I feel like I go on those rants
No,
or
no, no,
monologues.
not
But
at all.
it's
It was.
there's many different things. There's anecdotes, there's funny stories, when it comes to Lewis
Yeah.
Simmons, or stories with in some competitions, with some of the athletes I was
Hmm.
in. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's you have a bit of
Yeah.
everything.
Thank.
But yeah, big
Thank you so much, man.
big thank
I
you to you
appreciate you.
for having me.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I cannot wait to follow more of what you're doing, because I think you're onto something.
Thank you, man. I really, really appreciate it. I just stopped the recording now.